Hello. Oh, goodness me. Everything's gone wrong. Never mind. We'll manage. We'll manage. Hello. My name's Wimpy. Welcome to my world. Due to a little faux pas in the way I had things set up, that took me by surprise. Anyway, welcome back. Happy New Year. I've been tinkering with OBS, unsurprisingly, and I'm going to share what I've been working on with you today. It really comes down to this. I've spent a lot of time maintaining and working on the snap of OBS for Linux over the last 2 years. It's a bunch of work, and I've hit some limitations with the snap confinement and stuff I want to do with OBS. So I have found another way, and I'm going to be sharing that with you today. And also explaining some of the backstory, how I got into the OBS snap, and why it was very much required when I first started with that stuff, and why some of the reasons why I created the snap or took on the snap don't exist for me anymore. So that's what I'm going to be going through. So this was originally recorded on twitch.tv/Wimpy's World. So if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact and you want to join in interactively, please give us a follow over there. Hello Luke, welcome back. How are you doing? I've got my cup of tea. I hope everyone else does as well. So let's just explain what the OBS Studio snap is. So that's a package effectively of OBS Studio plus a whole selection of add-ons. Good morning, Linux Paul. Hello, Paddy. I can see you triggering these redemptions. Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy New Year to you all. So the OBS Studio snap is OBS Studio plus a bunch of add-ons and extras all bundled up together. And it's a way that Linux users can utilize all of the features of OBS, including some of the very cool plugins that are out there, all in one place. And by my interest in OBS and following what a lot of the OBS tweakers are doing meant that I was able to add some of those plugins to the OBS snap in order to turn it into a one-stop shop for doing cool stuff with OBS for Linux streamers. I got involved with it at the point which a good friend of mine, Alan Pope, he implemented the browser support in the snap of OBS, which at the time, a couple of years ago, was something that wasn't available in the deb packages in the archive, nor in the PPA version of OBS Studio. In fact, that's still true for the Debian package of OBS Studio. There's no browser source capability, which is kind of a fundamental feature of OBS these days. So we got into it for that reason, and also Alan and I did let's call it a few pilot episodes of 8-bit versus, which was sort of an 8-bit retro gaming concept that we came up with. And we used OBS and a lot of OBS's features to do that, and we needed a whole slew of extra capabilities in OBS to pull that all together. And hence I got involved in sort of developing and maintaining the snap. So since those days, things have changed a bit. I'm running into limitations with what I can do with OBS because of its confined nature in the snap. And one of the features of confinement is you can't call executables outside of the snap, and for some of the stuff I want to do with OBS integrations, that is a limiting factor. And you will have seen some of the people here set off channel alerts, channel point redemptions, and makes the lights flash and it sets off animations. Now I'm able to do a lot of that through WebSocket calls and using Atom, but there are other things that I want to do, like the way I control my music mixing, that's cumbersome to do inside the snap, and I wanted to free myself from that. So I have found another way. I've been trying different solutions and I've settled on one, so I'm going to be sharing that today. So welcome back, Sleepy Eyes Vince, as well. Thanks for stopping by again. So, without further ado, with the now officially supported OBS Flatpak, will the now officially supported OBS Flatpak have similar issues? I don't know. I've not used the Flatpak of OBS. The work that Georges has been doing in upstream OBS in order to bring the Flatpak to where it is today, but also things like Wayland support, is fantastic. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. But I haven't used the Flatpak, and I know that Flatpak has sort of a fully confined mode and a what in the Snap world I know as sort of classic unconfined. I don't know if the Flatpak is in a fully confined configuration or not. I'll have to try it out to see. But I have an alternative solution at the moment, specifically for Ubuntu, that I'm going to be using. I'll have to investigate whether the Flatpak has the issues that I'm encountering or bumping into with the Snap. Hello Mark, Happy New Year to you as well. How you doing? Thanks for stopping by, Mark. Right then. And RJ, hello. I see you're setting off the hellos as well. Welcome back, welcome back. So, I think the best thing to do is go and look at what I've created so far, and I'm using it right now. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I've done over the holiday break with OBS. You won't see much at a surface level in terms of how things are presented, although for those of you that are watching live on Twitch right now, or watching the VOD on Twitch after the fact, if you want to bring up the video stats in Twitch, see if you can spot anything that looks interesting or unusual in those statistics, and if you think you've spotted what it is, then post in the comments, and I'll comment on that if you can figure out what the heck I've been up to. So Corazin, hello, says in fact I should start using this tool here. There we go. So Corazin says, does Classic not disable all confinement and make the Snap essentially like a dev? Yes, in effect. So Classic confinement basically means no confinement. And that could have been an option, but there are restrictions on introducing classic snaps to the Snap Store, and certainly going from confined to classic is not a support, not something you can do automatically. It's not a supported migration that you can do. So there's that to consider as well. And also classic snaps are they're a bit more difficult to work with. There are some things that are way easier, and then there are some things that complicate the way that snaps work. So I didn't want to go down that road. I obviously know what the implications of making those decisions are. I wanted to go a different route, and I'll explain what that is. So Nano is asking, how do you pull up those comments on stream? So I'm using a service called featured.chat. So if you go to featured.chat, you can connect it with your Twitch account, and you can do this, highlight messages in this way. In fact, I just need to move my featured chat in the other window here over, so I can also manually just turn them off when I'm done talking about a particular thing. So let's get into this. Let's not mess about. Let's go and take a look at the code that I've cooked up. Hello Jeff, welcome back. How you doing? Oh, I'm really enjoying that second cup of tea. Right then. So this is the second time I've used this new setup, and it will come as no surprise it's a chunky shell script, because that's my want. So very, very quickly, what I've created is a shell script for Ubuntu, and it can work on derivatives, although it will need some minor tweaking in order to detect Pop! OS, Linux Mint and Elementary, insert the names of others accordingly. They change their OS info. That should be trivial to do that, but it does work. And what this shell script does is it installs OBS Studio from the OBS Studio PPA, which is maintained and published by upstream developers, part of the team of OBS. And over the time I've been working on the Snap, the PPA for OBS Studio has seen a number of improvements, not least it includes the browser support, which it has stayed current with the new versions of Ceph that OBS can use. It also adds to the source tree to include things like RN noise for the noise suppression, and in the betas that they're working on in their unstable channel also includes the libraries for AGA video devices, which is a new feature in OBS 27.2. So it remains current with all of the capabilities of OBS. It obviously doesn't have all of the extra plugins that I like. We'll get to that in a moment though. And there's one other thing. The other thing that it has is, because it's from that team, it fully enables all the service integrations. So you may have seen for OBS 27.1 there are YouTube integrations, and I didn't fully appreciate what these were, but when you sign in with your YouTube account or your Twitch account, the Twitch in particular adds a bunch of additional docs that you can embed in your OBS setup for automatically integrating your chat and Twitch activity streams, stream information, a whole bunch of stuff that you tweak regularly as a Twitch user, all gets turned on. And I had no appreciation for what that was, and it's extremely useful. So those integrations are enabled for YouTube, Twitch and Restream, I believe. Good morning. Hey Tommy. Hey Dex, welcome back. Hey Rudra, good to see you. Happy New Year to you. I see you've been busy with the Unity remix again. Fantastic work as always. You think, oh well, installing...
Thank you for the follow, Tommy Kuda.
Well, there's an interesting message. I'll have to look at what's going on with that. That's clearly some browser source that isn't refreshed properly. I'll go and look at that later. But thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate that. So, Popey guest appearance when? Soon, maybe. Not anytime soon. We're in semi-lockdown here in the UK at the moment. So, it's something we've discussed, though. Installing OBS Studio from the PPA, why write a script to do that? Well, installing OBS Studio from the PPA is less than half the battle, and this is where this script kicks in. So what we have here is some helper functions, but if we get down to the meat of it, what we actually have here is, first of all, installing OBS Studio. Now this caches the deb of OBS Studio from the OBS Studio PPA, and that's just in case a future version introduces some sort of compatibility issue. It means it's trivial to roll back because you have a locally cached version of previous versions of the deb. So it does an apt download and then installs from that downloaded deb to get OBS Studio on your machine. And then, based on everything I've learned maintaining the Snap over the last 2 years, and all of the plugins that I have found to be extremely useful that I'm using to make all of this happen, it then goes off and installs all of those plugins and more besides, because there's some that I've never had inside the Snap that are here. So some of the plugins are distributed as debs only, so this goes off and grabs all of those. The ones that are really of note here is this one is the dummy execute command, and the main reason why I've pivoted away from the snap. This makes it possible on source and scene changes to execute some arbitrary command, which is an extremely useful capability and something that I'm making extensive use of now. Then of course we've got the NDI stuff, which is extremely useful, and how I get the cameras from the desk behind me to operate. We'll skip over that one for the moment. And then this one's super important, the WebSocket stuff. All of the automation for switching scenes and what have you, it heavily relies on the this WebSocket piece. Then there's a prolific developer in the OBS community called Exeldro. Basically all of the plugins he makes are absolutely gold. There's a whole bunch of, as you can see, a whole bunch of them. He publishes in a consistent way, so I've written a little helper function specifically for handling and managing the install of his plugins. The ones that I use the most are, I use Gradient Source. It's a simple plugin, but I use that quite a lot. Move Transition, that's what does this stuff. When you see these cameras and animations move around, that's Move Transition that does all of that. The Scene Collection Manager is useful for backing up your scenes. That's something that he's come out with very recently. And then the Source Switcher I use extensively for bringing in timed animations. And the Transition Table is extremely useful for saying when moving from this scene to this scene, always use this transition with these settings. It's a very useful way of managing how animations are presented without you having to manually click on things to change it live. TextPango is a hugely useful text rendering plugin for OBS for Linux users. It enables Unicode and, most importantly, emoji and text orientation, so that's significantly better than what's available in the standard free type plugin. So as you can see, there's loads of them. Install plugins from tarballs, from zip files, and so on. So this is putting all of these plugins in the appropriate places for your install. And then finally, something that I didn't have in the snap, but then a bunch of themes. And the one that I'm currently using is this one here, Moonlight. And that's because it uses a reduced size font, which isn't great for when you're tweaking OBS, but when you're live streaming, it means you can maximize your preview window and pack in lots of docs with your vital information. So I can see at a glance that this is rendering out at 6.2 milliseconds a frame, or at 4.7 now, that there are 29 viewers watching on Twitch right now. You know, I can see a whole bunch of stuff. I've got my featured chat in here, I've got the audio meter going, everything. So I love this theme. So it installs all of those themes as well. So it's a single script, it takes a few minutes to run, and it gives you everything and more that the snap provided. And I didn't feel that I could personally transition away from the snap, because there's some 70,000 people using the OBS Studio snap. I didn't feel I could transition away from that myself and not provide some kind of solution to other people. With regards to the snap, from this point forward, I'm going to bump the version when 27.2 comes out. But I'm not going to be investing the time in maintaining and updating complex plugins inside the OBS Studio Snap. I'm going to just keep it version parity in step, but over the next 6 months I'll probably step away from doing even that, and the Snapcrafters community can pick up the version updates on that snap. So let's have a look then. So we've got a question here from Tommy that says, with all those plugins, isn't OBS then much heavier? No, not really. So the way that plugins work is, unless you're using them, they're not used. So no, and I've only ever encountered one OBS plugin that significantly impacted the performance of OBS, and that isn't included in this list. I'm not going to name it because I know it's been improved and it doesn't have those issues anymore. But in all the time I've been, messing around with OBS plugins, I've only found one that really knocked the performance of OBS on the head. I have them all loaded here. I do have a beefy machine, but I know that there are people that are using the OBS Snap, which is fully loaded, batteries included, on very modest integrated IGP laptops, and they are streaming successfully once they've actually not accommodated for OBS but tuned their stream according to their available bandwidth and hardware capabilities. So no, I don't think you'll have a problem with this. I am preparing a video for YouTube to talk about how I tune and balance my OBS configuration to make it possible for me to live stream games on a single PC. Even though I have a fairly impressive machine here, you can't just turn everything up to 11 and expect it to work. And over the holiday season I've done a bunch of work to actually really refine that, and like I said, if you go poking around in the video stats for this stream right now, you may see something surprising in there if you're aware of how Twitch works. And I'm preparing a video about how, well, it might have to be two, about how I've achieved all of that, because there's some clever trade-offs you can do with regards to the video encoding and not impacting game performance, and there's a lot of detail there. I haven't seen any videos that capture all of that nuance. Mostly they focus on bitrate and resolution, and there's more to it than that. One of the advantages of this is that StreamFX is included in this plugin list, which is extremely powerful if for encoder options, particularly if you've got an NVIDIA card. So, Sleepy Eyes Vince says, fair enough, the input you've invested in the Snap has already taken it leaps and bounds. Indeed, and I think it's easy to maintain. It's a significant Snap. I mean, it's I think only the Nextcloud Snap, I think it's comparable in complexity to that. Nextcloud is complicated. It's maintained by a friend of mine, Kyle Fazari. He has a lot of service integrations to deal with there, and bringing up things in the right order, which is complicated to do. In my case, it's really about the video, graphics and audio stack, and things like making Wayland and Vulkan work, and video capture devices and GPU acceleration. That's been the challenge with the Snap. And part of it is I love streaming. I want to be doing more of this, but I looked back. I think last year I invested nearly 200 hours in maintaining and tinkering with the Snap of OBS just on its own. It's a massive time sink. This script makes it possible for me to fairly trivially add and update new plugins. I don't have to sit there and continually build and retest the Snap, and building the Snap is a significant undertaking even on my machine. Build times are 20-25 minutes, and like I say, there's 70,000 people using it, so there's a lot of testing required. I want to unburden myself from some of that so I can spend more time doing this stuff and focus on the projects these days that I'm most interested in, like getting a Raspberry Pi crammed inside this new case in order to run Retro Home and games emulation and stuff like that, and working on Ubuntu Mate. So this is a way for me to continue to use the best of what OBS provides, but without all of the development and support overhead that it's brought along with it.
Thank you for the follow, Corey Stokes.
Thank you very much, Corey. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. So, And Ardza says, fantastic, you'll continue streaming. Yes, I'm glad you enjoy the streams. I enjoy doing them as well. They're good fun. And going to start pivoting into making some pre-recorded content on YouTube as well. Not the warts and all stuff that I do here where we solve problems and work on code, but sort of the more polished, succinct versions of what I've learned to share with people. Luke's back. He says that was the longest stand-up ever. What's happening? What's happening, Luke, is I'm pivoting away from the snap of OBS, and I was just running through a shell script which installs all the stuff that I need so that I can do everything I want to do with OBS using OBS Studio from the Teams PPA, and then, as you can see down here in the script, then bolting on top of that all of the plugins and add-ons and themes that I use in order to make all of this stuff work. So what I thought I'd do is actually publish this on GitHub. I've shared this around with a few friends over the last 3 or 4 days, so I think it's been tested at least 3 times now, me making 4. I've used it yesterday live. I did a live stream for work. We're over at Slim DevOps. So we do container optimization stuff over there. So if you like a little bit more Linux and a bit of container tech, then consider heading over to Slim DevOps and giving us a follow. We do fun stuff there. So we did our first live stream of the new year over there yesterday, and I used this new setup for the first time over there, and it all worked swimmingly. And here I am again. So far so good. So do excuse me, I think it's time to get this up on GitHub. So I think we'll make a project for it, and then everyone can trivially access it. So let's make a new repo, and we'll call it, we'll stick it in the Wimpy's world org. So I think I'm going to call it OBS Fully Loaded. Maybe we'll hyphenate it like so.
Happy New Year.
Hello, Dos. Happy New Year to you as well. So, OBS Studio. There we go. That's what we'll call it. We'll make this public. And we won't... Oh, we could... No, we won't add anything. Choose... Yeah, actually, let's do it. Let's add that. Choose a license. It's only a shell script, so we'll make that MIT. There we go. So let's get that checked out. There we go, and then I'll CP from where I've been working on this, and it's simply called OBS install, so we'll copy that there. So there we go, add. Oh, there's my, there we go. And that should be it. There we go. So if we refresh this, we should have, there we go. So there's the script. It's up on GitHub. I will put that in the chat so that it's easy to copy and paste. So, oh, Luke's already beaten me to it. Thank you, Luke. Yeah, give it a star. Why not? Send it to Hacker News. Let's see if we can repeat the success of QuickEmu. I doubt it. I don't imagine this is going to be as interesting. This README will obviously need fleshing out. And as I said, something that I know we're going to need to look at is... I've put some guardrails on this. I don't want people trying to run this on not Ubuntu or an Ubuntu derivative. So there's some simple guardrails here to make sure you're running in the right context. And are you running on Ubuntu? Is it a supported Ubuntu release? So I anticipate it may be necessary to put some conditionals in there to detect some of the popular Ubuntu derivatives, you know, Elementary, Linux Mint, Pop OS, those sorts of things. But it will work on anything that is derived from Ubuntu. So there it is. Luke says here, oh, I didn't click it. There it is. This will definitely be more useful for those that resist snaps. Indeed. That is part of it. Now, of course, you know, if you're on Arch, for example, then, you know, there's a build of OBS for Arch, but it doesn't have all of that service integration that I was talking about, Twitch and YouTube and what have you, which obviously the snap doesn't have because I'm not a member of the upstream team. I don't have access to those. Well, technically I shouldn't have access to those keys and secrets, although they did leak them, so I do know what they are, but I would never divulge those or share them myself because it's not my place to do so. But these OBS Studio PPA has all of that stuff turned on, and it's great. It's super useful. I really like it. And it was a big feature for YouTube recently, and it makes streaming on YouTube much more palatable with all of that account integration now. So yeah, there it is. An alternative way to get a full OBS going on Ubuntu. I will update the README at some point with some basic, like what it is, you know, a quick summary of what I'm presenting here, basically. And I look forward to seeing, you know, what people think of it. You're welcome. How do I pronounce that? D Hicks. Wow, that's just a collection of letters. But you're welcome. I, you know, like I said, I didn't want to move on from the snap myself without leaving something for people that, you know, like the effort and the work that I do on the snap to sort of jump ship with me to, you know, something that provides not just a comparable but better experience. And that's not because it's no longer a snap, it's because, well, because it's no longer a snap, there are some plugins that we can take use of that I previously didn't have the ability to integrate into the snap. Hey Caveman Crafting, good morning, welcome. So and then Luke asks, will I be handing over the reins of the snap now too, as I won't be actively using it? So a little earlier on I said that I will update the OBS Studio snap when 27.2 is released. So I'll do the version bump. I have got a local build which uses the current beta. That's quite broken on Linux at the moment, so don't bother trying the beta 2. Wait for the next release. There's some big fixes in it. And I won't be adding support for the AGA devices in that. I've looked at that. It's a bunch of work, and again, because of confinement, it's a non-starter, so I'm not going to be adding the AGA device support to the snap. And I do have to change the way that the WebSocket plugin is added to the snap, because there's some ABI breakage And again, it's like I could spend hours debugging that and make that work as a build from source solution, which is my preferred approach in the Snap. But I invested hundreds of hours in the OBS Studio Snap just last year. I haven't got that time to invest in maintaining the Snap, so I'm going to pivot the WebSocket plugin to just simply dump and ingest the pre-built binary release of the WebSocket Snap in order to keep it in the Snap without having to debug all of the source stuff. Once 27.2 is out, I'm probably not going to invest any effort in maintaining the Snap, but it's in a good place, and the Snapcrafters community can bump the revision every 6 months just to sort of keep it at its current level. So Luke asks, are snaps dead in your opinion? I don't know that they're dead. They're certainly extremely useful for certain applications, but when you get into complex apps, it's hard to do stuff. Like, I keep bumping into the confinement issues, and I understand, you know, you and I both understand that. We worked on this technology at Canonical together. And so I've got to the point with the OBS Studio Snap where it's just that paradigm isn't working for me anymore because confinement is getting in the way of me doing what I want to do. So I'm not compelled to keep with it. I do have other snaps installed for other things. The Authy app, for example, is the only way you can get the Authy 2FA app for Linux from the publisher, Twilio. So I use that, and Standard Notes, again, the only official way to get that from the publisher is via the Snap. And the Zoom, video conferencing thing, which I use for work. The best way to consume that for me is via the Snap. So I do still use them, but I don't stick to them if it's not the right solution for the problem that I'm looking to solve. Does that answer your question? I don't think they're dead. I think they make sense, and also I think the whole immutable desktop thing is definitely the direction of travel. And OBS now, of course, is officially released as a flat pack, from upstream because of the work of George's Stavrokas. So maybe in time I pivot to the flat pack, but I haven't had time to investigate if any of the rough edges that I'm now encountering with the Snap with regards to confinement exist in the flat pack or not. So that's some research for the future. But this was the quickest way for me to get the full experience that I'm used to without having to invest tons of time and effort. Right, so there it is. And let's have a look here. So Luke says, I'll just switch back to this view. So Luke says, I'd agree all packaging has its place. There are enough niches and differences to justify them all. Yeah, indeed. Distilling things down to this is, I don't think you can say there is one packaging solution that fits all, use cases. And trying to get there at the moment is probably unwise, but I use a selection of things. I use Docker containers, I use VMs as software packages to some extent. I wanted to run a particular thing for Twitch testing, bandwidth testing. That was a Windows app. It was a pain to get working under Wine, so I just used QuickEmu to start up a Windows 10 instance and installed the app inside there and did it that way. It's like there are so many different ways to do things, and I'm thinking of using QuickEmu to thank you very much for subscribing, Corazin. I appreciate that. That's very kind. So I'm thinking of an idea for QuickEmu, which is another project that we work on here. It's a way to easily do virtual machine management and what have you on Linux, and it can automatically download and stand up VMs of macOS and Windows. And what Windows have done with WSL is make it easy to run the thing that developers appreciate about Ubuntu and Linux, which is as a development environment, as a development platform. So WSL uses VMs to run Linux in a seamlessly integrated way to deliver the best of what Ubuntu does to Windows users. So I'm thinking, well, let's flip that around. What does Windows do best that we are probably envious of as Linux users? And I would say that's gaming. So again, through an idea exchange with Popey, I'm thinking of making Steamy Windows in QuickEmu, which automatically, well, we still need to do some work here, but uses QuickEmu and GPU pass-through and Looking Glass to create a gaming environment in a VM using Windows that is effectively native performance. So you can run your games on Windows in a VM. So it's not a new project, it's where sort of a feature that we'll bring to QuickEmu. But yeah, I suppose stepping away from the snap is an illustration of me stepping away from projects that I don't want to invest time in because there are other things that I'm more interested in doing. I've got Ubuntu Mate, we've got Retro Home, we've got QuickEmu, and I've got a few other little side projects. I want to stop doing the stuff that I don't need to be doing so that I can enjoy doing the things I enjoy doing. So yeah. And Corazin says that a simple gaming VM with those features would be so amazing. Yeah, I think that would be a very attractive feature, and in the back of my mind I've been thinking along this line for a while, and we have most of the capability there to do it, because when you install Windows with QuickEmu, it automatically downloads Windows and automatically installs all of the drivers to accelerate everything that can be accelerated. Well, there's nothing stopping us from expanding what that auto install does to automatically install Steam or the Unreal launcher, Epic launcher or whatever. So and make sure that Looking Glass works and things like that. So yeah, I think that's got potential for being like the next level of, well, why would you run a VM of Windows on Linux, and what is the real tangible benefit? And I think gaming without having to dual boot for me would be extremely attractive. So yeah, that's where I want to try and take QuickEmu, certainly in the first half of this year. So let's see how far we can get down that road together. And so there's a couple of things here. So Corazin says, I've done the GPU pass-through thing and it's a pain. Yes. And Rudra says that I guess GPU pass-through would require multiple GPUs. Yes. So the way you can do it is with 2 discrete GPUs, or with the right system with an IGP and a discrete GPU. And you obviously want the gaming bit to be on the discrete GPU. I was poking around my hardware over the holidays. I've definitely got one laptop that I can do this with. There is all sorts of hardware constraints, so the trick here is I don't think it can be one switch just make it all magically happen, but I think we can get close to, so that the number of hurdles that people have to clear and how high those hurdles are can be as low as possible, to sort of handhold people through a complicated process and reduce the barriers to entry of doing this. So I'm thinking the first iterations of this will be detecting, can your hardware support this, and if it can, what configuration needs to be done in order to enable it, because none of this stuff is turned on by default. And I'm going to focus on Ubuntu first, and then, as we did with QuickEmu, and then people who are interested will provide the patches to make sure that the equivalent things work on Fedora, Arch, and insert name of every other distro. So I think we can make it way easier. I don't think we can entirely automate the whole thing, but I'm looking forward to having a stab at that. Yeah, so Rudra makes a good point as well, that most Ryzen CPUs don't have an iGPU. Certainly that's true on desktop. On laptop, of course, they often come with integrated graphics. And again, I have very limited access to hardware that can do this.
Thank you for the follow, Alamir Jamali.
Well, Alamir Jamali, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, we'll see how we go. We're going to have to crowdsource this a bit to get people with a broad collection of hardware to give it a try, provide their feedback. So I think a standalone utility that just evaluates the GPU pass-through capability and says this is what you need to do to turn it all on is like the POC of this, and then we can try and turn that into something that automates as much of it as possible based on what we learn. So Corazin says, let's have a look here. Is the macOS VM with QuickEmu good enough to do actual Mac iOS development? So it's good enough if you want to have a macOS install with Xcode so that you can build your projects for iOS, for example. Yes, it's good enough for that. It is not good enough for something like video editing, unless we get GPU pass-through working. Because when we get GPU pass-through working, then so long as you've got a dedicated GPU which is supported by macOS, again, you can achieve effectively native performance at that point, and you can use it for anything. And there are some people out there now, if you're familiar with the term Hackintosh, the modern Hackintosh for a lot of people now, they're moving away from bare metal installs to installing macOS in VMs in the way that QuickEmu does it, and GPU pass-through in order to make sure you get a fully accelerated experience. And in addition to GPU pass-through, in the newer versions of macOS, so Big Sur and Monterey, passing through some sort of audio device is also kind of a requirement, because for whatever reason, there's no audio subsystem in virtualized machines beyond Catalina, which is a bit frustrating. So yes, for dev and code work, QuickEmu as it stands is totally usable for that kind of work, no problem. Dedicated GPU pass-through means that video editing and other sort of creative workflows could be supported as well. Yes, with any of these projects, I think I've got a link here. Most of them are there on GitHub, Wimpy's World. I've just put that in chat. If there's a project there that you're interested in, by all means, contributions welcome. And I follow up on all of the projects here. So, periodically I go around each of the projects, round up the fixes, pull requests and what have you, get those integrated, do some work on them myself, so it all happens here in and around this, orbiting around this community. And there's our Discord channel, so wimpysworld.io/discord, where we have a number of channels dedicated to the projects that we work on here, and just generally, Linux. If you're a Linux user or interested to know more about Linux, or you want to do more development on Linux, we have channels for all of that, and we're a friendly bunch, so by all means come and join. So let's have a look, see if we can... what are we crowdsourcing? So, crowdsourcing code contributions is what I'm referring to, you know, and also crowdsourcing GPU pass-through feedback. So creating a standalone utility to assess whether GPU pass-through is possible, whether the tool thinks GPU pass-through is possible on your machine, and getting feedback from people as to whether it worked or not, or if it said it wasn't possible when in fact it was, so we can improve things. So, if you want to run code on a phone, you need to pass through the iPhone to the VM, which also works as well, Ridra. You can pass, we've got USB pass-through going just fine. So Corazin said video editing isn't a concern. You need to build mobile apps. Yeah, and that was kind of my motivation for working on it and improving it, because somebody in our community here, Yannick, has been doing a lot of work with Flutter recently, and they wanted to build and test an app that they've been working on for the different platforms, and QuickMU was the means for them to do that. So yeah, it does fit that role particularly well without GPU pass-through. Some of the graphical animations are a bit rubbish, but you know, it works. You can get stuff done. And we've also got, you know, file sharing, pass-through and all the rest of it as well. And as much as we can do, it's not as good. The support on macOS isn't as good as what you can do with Windows, but you know, it's usable. Hello, Yannick. Speak his name and he shall appear. Good morning. How are you doing? Happy New Year to you as well. Right, okay, so I think I've outlined that little... In fact, Yannick is one of the people that took this new OBS setup thing for a spin. So yeah. So Luke asks, is this OBS script going to become a Docker container? Maybe. I did say at the end of last year that was something that I was going to investigate. And I did start investigating it. I had another script which effectively tried to recreate the source code build of OBS inside a Docker container in the same way that the snap is, or in a similar way that the snap is created. But then I start bumping into some of the same confinement issues. That said, this script, which pulls in a version of OBS and then dumps a bunch of pre-built plugins over the top, I think we can create a reasonable Docker experience without having to do source code compiling. So I think, yes, this script could be augmented into a thing that builds a Docker container, and certainly something I want to have a look at just for science and learning value. So yeah, obviously at work we do a lot of stuff with containers, so there is professional interest there as well as personal interest. Oh, I'm sorry to hear you're not well, Yannick. I wish you a speedy recovery. So yeah, so Rudra says it might be possible. So X11 stuff all works. We did a live stream over on Slim DevOps some weeks ago now. That'll be on the YouTube channel with a now colleague of mine, Big Pod, another regular in these streams. He now works at Slim AI, and we did a live stream where we put Firefox in a Docker container. So all of this can be done, and NVIDIA publish a container helper to access CUDA from within Docker containers. So, you know, in terms of hardware access, that's not too tricky. There's some of the same limitations that I've mentioned with the snap, but you know, why not try it Luke says, is it possible to run multiple instances of this script OBS like you did with the snap? Yes, but in a slightly different way. So if we just go over here, let's bring up the terminal. If we just run OBS help, there is a command here, multi. So that enables you to launch multiple instances of the same OBS. So what you could do is run OBS multi, and then you could create a separate profile or scene. So you could do profile, demo, and then scene collection. These don't exist on my machine, so I can't actually do this. Scene demo. That would create another instance of OBS using a different profile and a different scene collection, and there you'd be up and running. So so Yannick redeemed the release the Kraken, and that's because I am a huge fan of this bit of software, GitKraken. So I use GitKraken an awful lot, and I think it's a fantastic project. So when I break GitKraken out, sometimes the release the Kraken animation is redeemed to sort of celebrate its appearance. So that's what that was all about. So Rudra says that they were experimenting with a complete XFCE and Mate desktop in a systemd nspawn container. I love systemd nspawn containers. Huge fan of that. You'll know, people that have been here, the Raspberry Pi projects that I build inside systemd nspawn containers. It's a very lightweight way to create foreign architecture containers to build for ARM on an x86 PC. Absolutely love it. Oh, so I didn't know this. So Dex Vinyl says GitKraken, they're merging with GitLens, aren't they? I don't know. I don't even know what GitLens is. I'll have to find out more. Yeah, and Yannick points out he's a big fan of GitKraken as well. I've used lots of Git UIs over, well, not even Git, but you know, source control UIs over the years, and it's by far and away my favourite. So thank you for the reminder in chat, Luke, that the OBS fully loaded repository is now available. In fact, we'll just, for those of you that are joining, let's just hop over there very quickly. So many windows. There it is. No, overshot. There we go. So let's go back. So here we go. It's a bit Spartan. The script is there. I'll need to work on a README, but you know, contributions welcome. As always, I'm pretty confident that the community here will you know, step up and you know, improve this and think of things that I didn't consider, as is always the case. So Luke asks, before I run this script, do I need to do anything with the OBS snap? No. Well, actually, yes. So in OBS you can export your scene collections and you can export your profiles. So do that. That's effectively making a copy. Oh, Linux Paul. I think you're the only one with enough channel points to do this on a regular basis. Yeah, export your scene collections and export your profiles. That script, the fully loaded script, you can run multiple times. It will cleanly run over the top of itself, and if I update it in the future with new plugin versions, it will, you know, upgrade those plugins. So once you've got the OBS installed via the fully loaded script, you can then import your profiles and scene collections that you exported earlier, and it should all just work the same as how you had it in the snap, because all of the same plugins are available via the fully loaded script as are in the snap, so you shouldn't have any incompatibilities. So Yannick says make sure you run user bin OBS to use the deb version. You don't even need to worry about that, because the binary name for the snap and the deb installed are different. So it's OBS Studio is the name for the snap, and it's OBS for the deb. So you can have them both installed and you can launch them discreetly. You may not be able to distinguish them in the menu if you've got them both installed. The desktop icons, names and all the rest of it are going to be the same, but launching from the terminal, they're different binary names. Yannick says he could redeem 9 cucumbers. Please don't. Yeah. So yeah, no, you should find when I transitioned, I think I had multiple versions of the oh dear, the fun we can have with channel point redemptions. And this is why, right? So I want to do more of this stupid stuff, right? Have fun with these things, and some of the things I want to do, it's way easier if I'm not confined inside the snap, that I can do more stuff. So that's kind of one of the reasons I want to get more creative and create more interesting interactive features, you know, here on the stream. Right, I'm just looking in chat here. Okay, I'll have to check up on all of that. So, well, I've presented what I set out to present. It's there, it's in the wild. Tell your friends and lovers, give it a try. Contributions welcome, as are issue reports.
Thank you for the follow. I am backed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the follow. Oh dear, I'm gonna have to change some of the recall on this. I am pickles. They're cucumbers. So it's a meme from our community. I work on Ubuntu Mate, which is one of the official Ubuntu flavors, and the color, the name of the color green that we use as the accent color is Chelsea cucumber. So what you're seeing there is Chelsea cucumbers. It's all very silly, but it's a bit of fun. Yeah, so I think, you know, other than the greetings, the animated greetings that you'll have also seen, you know, some of the animations are very much sort of memes from this community and the channel, and there are plenty more that I haven't created yet. So yeah, we'll have fun with that. Right then, I think that'll do. I think that'll do for now. I say that, not quite true. So I've been working on optimizing the way video encoding and gameplay works on a single streaming setup. Anyone that's been around here for a really long time will know we used to play Hot Shot Racing, and we really stressed out what you can do with OBS with that, because we had 8 players all playing at the same time, and it was great, but we hit some limits, and I've further refined that whole process. So I'm hoping tonight I'm going to be live streaming some game stuff. Oh, Luke. Because I want to test a new gaming configuration I have in OBS, both in terms of video quality, resolution, and low latency and not hitting any encoding limits. So I found a new racing game that's a bunch of fun. I found a new game launcher and I've been messing around with DXVK and all sorts of stuff, and I want to put that through its paces and see, does it all work as well as I think it should. So tonight, UK time, I'm guessing around 9 or 10 PM UK time, I'll do that stream. And if I don't do it tonight, I'll be doing it Saturday night for sure, and again on Sunday night. And the game, well, so Yannick is asking which game, and Linux Paul is saying, is it Hot Wheels Unleashed? It's something else. So if you want to know what, I'll see you later. you can have a look. It's very different, and I hated it when I did the tutorial and then stuck with it for a few minutes and quickly began to love it. So I am going to be giving that a play, and really to sort of stress OBS, this whole setup, and go over some of the encoding stuff and GPU tweaking that I've had to do to make all of this work. Because I don't want to suggest something unless I know it works reliably. And I've got a couple of games I've been testing. One that I've been testing that I won't be streaming tonight is Forza 4, which I know some people have been playing for a while on Linux, but streaming it on Linux is something else altogether. And I'm close to getting that not crashing. So when I get there, I'll be playing some of that. But I've got something else, and I'll explain what it is later. Right then, let's have a look.
Thank you for the follow, Zalapenos.
Thank you very much for the follow. That's very kind of you. Welcome to the stream. I noticed my alert didn't go off of that. That's a bit disappointing. Oh, we've got a raid suggestion. Yes, yeah, I follow them. I will do that very thing. So let's do that. So, oh goodness, what's going on here? Oh, there we go. That's what we need. It's just catching up. Oh no, it's doing the confetti. Right, oh goodness. Why are my copy paste buffers backwards? That's annoying. So I need to get a bit better at these end processes. So we're heading over to Nova's 1R1, and they are doing Flutter live coding. We've been here before. She's great. So thank you all very. This channel is intended for mature audiences. Fine, I don't care. Just take us there. There we go. It's not letting me. This happened the other day. Why can't I go these places? Right. Oh, there we go. We can. Right. It's allowing me now. We're going to go and do that thing. We're heading over there. Say nice things. Be friendly. And I'll see you later for some racing fun. Bye for now.